it's an issue that we will be discussing. It's too early to say whether or not we'll be adopting it. But of course, with technology evolving, we also have to, avert our minds to the trends in elections if we want to minimize and reduce, the incidence of rejected ballots. And so these are things that as a commission we are also discussing. But we believe that there's a lot of insights and experiences that will be shared during this 2-day forum. And I'm sure that, we'll take a lot of, key nuggets from it for our own decision making. I think that the Electoral Commission of Ghana in 2020, we redesigned our ballot papers. That has already been done. We noticed that, the spacing between the candidates, when you look at the boxes, it was quite narrow. And the result was that you find that a thumbprint could go into the next box. So if you compare our ballot boxes prior to 2020, our ballot papers prior to 2020, you notice that in between each of the candidates, you find a thick black marking, so that even if your hand spills over to the next box, is caught within that thick black marking. And we believe that this redesigning has also contributed to minimizing the high incidence of rejected ballots. As I mentioned, and I believe in 2020, the rejected ballots constituted 2.33%. In 2024, we managed to reduce it a little to 2.08%. Of course, that also, as I mentioned, we had done an audit. After 2020, we did a nationwide audit to examine the factors for the high incidence of rejected ballots. And we noticed that, yes, one was based on voter illiteracy. People were not very conversant with how to vote. Secondly, we also had voters who would deliberately spoil their ballots because, and you notice that particularly in 2024, I think in the Boku constituency, we noticed that, for the parliamentary, we had over 6,000 rejected ballots, but for presidential, it was 480. And so even then, even in 2024, we called our officers. We didn't have access to the ballots, but we called our officers, and what we learned was that it was, because there was some conflict going on there, the residents were not satisfied with the candidates because they were coming from a particular tribe. And so you notice that, they picked the ballots all right, but they did not vote. And of course, that constitutes rejected ballots. But I go back to our audit of the 2020, and we noticed it was high illiteracy, and there was also deliberate, intention of the voter to spoil the ballot. Then we also noticed that, there hadn't been a redefinition of what constitutes a rejected ballot. In the past, you would find that they say if there's a mark on the ballot, outside the box designated for thumbprinting, that should be determined as rejected ballots. But we looked at it following the audit of the 2020 results. We looked at it and we said no. If the marking does not compromise the voting and the voter's intention is clear, whether there's a mark outside the outside the boxes or not, it shouldn't, we shouldn't regard those ballots as rejected. And so that audit was very essential, because usually you think that, people are not literate, let's teach them. But also our officers, we had to train them as to, what should constitute a rejected ballot. And if the intention of the voter is very clear, and let's say he's folding the ballot and he's thumbprinted and there's a mark on the side, it should not constitute a rejected ballot. So we did some education on this, and you saw that there was a reduction from 2020 where we had 2.33 to, and in 2024 2.08. So it's something that we are working on.
Is there a possibility of electronic voting in Ghana?
Well, we're discussing it, and there's nothing that is impossible. If there's a simplified way to do it, that is close to just you go to the screen and you press on the voter as you would with a paper. What stops us, I believe, is the design, and it's something that we should start looking at. But of course, it's a discussion that we'll have with the political parties, with key stakeholders, religious bodies, civil society, the media as to the way to go. Look at countries that are doing it well, how well it's working for them. We shouldn't rush to do it because others are doing it. We should look at the benefits. You know, we always say if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if there are benefits to it and it can be done and it's acceptable to all the stakeholders, i.e. the parties, the citizenry, civil society, and then why not?
It is possible. How ready is Ghana for the electronic voting? Looking at if there are key stakeholders' involvement and everything, how prepared is Ghana for electronic voting?
Well, the discussions have just started, so I cannot say that we're prepared. The discussions have just started. You know, internally we are looking at this. We started thinking about it based within our own internal reviews, and we believe that this conference would offer us also an opportunity to learn lessons, hear the best practices and experiences of countries that are experiencing. So we are not, the discussions have just started. We are nowhere near implementation.
We know how the paper balloting has been. When it comes to security with the electronic balloting, how is Ghana prepared security-wise?
Well, as I mentioned, we've just started discussing these issues. So
thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click on the bell for more updates.